Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm going to be working on my Jonsered CS2253 chainsaw, which is not a very common chainsaw in the firewood world, I don't think. You don't see very many of these things on YouTube or on the Facebook videos or anything like that. So I thought it would be kind of cool to go over this saw as I put a new bar and chain on it and talk about the basics of this 2253. So if you didn't know, Jonsered was actually, towards the end anyway, made by Husqvarna. I don't know how many years ago it was that Jonsered was acquired by Husqvarna, but both companies were Swedish based, and Jonsered ended up getting bought out by Husqvarna. And in 2009, my father and I actually started an outdoor power equipment business, and we sold Jonsered chainsaws. So I learned a lot about these things over the years, and there's a couple of things that helped me sell the chainsaws if somebody was looking for a Husqvarna, and there was a thing that helped me sell them if they were looking for a Stihl. So if you take a 2253 is basically the same thing as a Husqvarna 550 XP. And I have both of them sitting right here. Jonsered is sitting a little crooked here. Let's try and fix that. Okay, so we've got both of them sitting next to each other, and you can see that both of them have the same fuel tank, except for this one's orange, this one's red. The air filter covers are not interchangeable, but they both have the same start-stop mechanism. They both have the same recoil style. They both use, Husqvarna calls it air injection, I think, and Jonsered always called it turbo, which was their centrifugal air cleaning method. It would keep the air filters clean. But the biggest thing is, when you look at the tops of these, the Jonsered has a straight handle, and the Husqvarna has this 7-degree on it. So when I was selling these things back in the day, if somebody came into the store and they were looking for, if they already had a Stihl chainsaw and they were familiar with that, you could tell them, hey, it's a Jonsered, or if you get a Jonsered, you know, you're still going to have a straight handle because the Stihl had the straight handle on it as well. And if they were coming in from a Husqvarna, we could try and honestly tell them that, you know, the Jonsered was made by Husqvarna, but the only difference really is that straight handle versus that 7-degree. Take a look at these from the bottom side now. Obviously the Jonsered needs the chain tensioned at minimum, but I'm putting a new bar and chain on it today. That 2253 I always kept at my camper at the land and used it out there. And the 550 lately I've been taking to work and bucking up a lot of firewood with it. And I did just buy a Stihl 500i, and I love it for the big stuff, but for small stuff, this 550 is just, it's easy to start, it's fast, and I really love the power to weight ratio. So the Jonsered is going to be the same thing, like I said, just red, and it's going to have that straight handle on it. So right now I am going to change this bar and chain. If you have the chain brake locked and you go to take this cover off, this would happen in the saw shop back in the day. People would loosen this and they'd pry this off. And when you do that, you end up contracting that band, and then you cannot get the cover back on. We actually had a special tool at the shop, so if people did that, they could just bring us the clutch cover, and we could return it to the open position. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second when I take this cover off. So this will contract when you activate the chain brake, and if you activate this chain brake before pulling this off, you know, it'll be contracted around the clutch drum here, but it'll contract even more when you pull it off. So now you made it so you can't put this back on. This thing is filthy. So I'm going to take this in the garage and blow it out quick. So I'm going to take this bar off. And what I did was, this chainsaw right now has 325058 bar and chain on it. And the Husqvarna, I'm running 325050. So this bar and chain was pretty well beat up. I think I'll save it for when I have to go into ruts and things like that, or roots. This I'm going to do a better job of fully cleaning someday, but for now I'm just going to put it back together because I got to get ready for some other stuff today. So yeah, basically I found a good place to buy a couple of new bars from. This bar ended up being $25 because Jonsered has been discontinued now since 2022. I was just looking at Husqvarna's website today, and they stated that Jonsered is done. So knowing that, I thought, well, if I can find some stuff, you know, I'm going to try and do this the way that I'm used to instead of trying to do it that way. So on these ones, I would always put the bar down and under like that. And then I'll take this, put it on top here, and then we make sure that it's in the drive rim, and then I'll go around the nose and make sure the chain drops in. Make sure that turns. Now the chain tensioner is on the outside cover as well, so I'm going to actually loosen this a little bit because I think that's probably going to need to be done anyway to get the cover back on. Yep, in fact, I still have to loosen a little bit more just to get that to fall in. All right, we will snug these up. Here's another important thing to check when you're changing your bar and chain or doing any saw maintenance. Make sure that your chain catcher is intact. You know, if you ever throw the chain's going to come back and hit this first before it comes back to hit you. So if this is bent, broken, or sheared off, get a new one. I think this part is like $8, totally worth it. So we're going to snug these up. I'll take tension off of the bar and make sure that it rotates. Okay, there's a ton of slack there, so I will snug that a little bit, get that back in. Make sure it kind of snaps in place. Now this bar has a little bit of rust on it. I presume that they're new old stock. That doesn't really bother me because I'm going to put this saw to use. And like I said, for 25 bucks, it's kind of hard to beat. Now the chain that I'm using on these is actually not a yellow label chain. It's a green label, so it's technically low kickback, but it's Oregon 20 BPX 72. This chain actually cuts really well, even being a low kickback chain. So I found a deal on these. I bought a bunch of these as well, and it's the same chain that I'm using on both that 550 and this 2253 now. Now I'm going to add some bar oil to it. Nice, we got these little spots to put the screwdriver in if we need to. And yes, it can use some. I try to stop in time when I'm pouring this, and sometimes that fails and I overfill it. But today it's flowing pretty slow because it's kind of cool out here. So let's see if I can. Okay, I will call that good. I think I actually got kind of lucky. I'm using this Stihl wood cutter bar and chain oil. I really like it because it's got a good tack to it. You can see, like when I was pulling the jug away, there's kind of a string of oil there. Now I'll fill this thing with gas. Same thing, just about to the top. And the cool thing about both of these saws is they've got a little window, a little viewing window there. So you can see here, I don't know if I'm getting this on camera or not, but just like that. All right, I have not run this Jonsered in probably 6 months or so. And so I just topped off the fuel and the bar oil. I'm going to engage the chain brake before I start it. Got an air purge here. That's not a primer, so it won't flood it. So we'll push this a whole bunch of times. That'll put fuel into the carburetor and then back into the tank. And then we've got a decompression valve. I will push that in. And here we've got the on-off choke. Pull out and up. Now it's in the choke position. We got the chain brake on so the chain won't spin. Pull the slack out of the rope. I'll give it a few pulls. Okay, so after that happens, flip this back down. It's going to be in the fast idle position now, and it should run. It'll be running fast, but it won't be spinning the chain because we have the chain brake engaged. So at this point, I'm going to let the saw run there at a fast idle for, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 seconds, and then I'll kick it down. this is a saw with auto tune, much like that Husqvarna 550 is, and like the 562. So some people have a hard time starting these things when they're hot, and the real trick to it is taking this on-off switch, going up to the choke position, and hitting it back down. Now when you give it a pull, it'll be in that fast idle position. You don't have to worry about choking it, flooding it. I'm gonna put the chain brake back on, and I'll give it a pull. My task tomorrow at work is to make another video with a wood splitter, and of course to do that I have to buck up some rounds. There are saws at work, but I do like to bring my own. So tomorrow I'm going to be bringing this saw to cut up some rounds. Most of the stuff we got there is oak, and it's between probably 14 and 20 inch diameter. So I should be able to give this saw a little workout, but I've got an 18 inch bar on here, 325 chain, 050, and you can see that it fired right up. A little bit smoky at the beginning, but it's got that auto tune system, so it'll level itself out and adjust how it needs to be adjusted. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe for more.